Right, we have some logic puzzles. We did these at the beginning of the year, and we've got some more to do today or tomorrow. So, number one, I'm going to do this first one with you, kind of go through as a refresher. Hopefully, you will remember throughout it, and then you can do the rest on your own. So, Santa sent his reindeers, Prancer, Dancer, Comet, Vixen, and Rudolph, each to a different city, each with a sleigh of a different color to bring various gifts to good children. So, first, we want to write down the information that we have. So I'm going to start with the reindeer names. All right, so there are all the reindeer names. Once again, just got them from the directions right there. Now, the directions also said each to a different city, so let's write those cities down. I know it's not listed in the directions, but I can go through these clues, and I can find them. So like that first clue says Comet was sent to Chicago, so I know Chicago must be one of them. So I'm going to write the cities. Perfect, so I've got Chicago, Detroit, El Paso, Atlanta, and Boston. Let's keep going. With the last thing, it says each with a sleigh of a different color. So let's write down the 5 colors as well. Once again, I can get those clues from reading all of them in here. All right, so you can see I put all of the colors there. And then whatever I put in this area also has to go here. So this way I can match up the reindeer with the city, right here. I can match up the reindeer with the color, right here. And I can match up the city and the color down in that grid. So let's start with our first clue. Comet was sent to Chicago while another reindeer was sent to Detroit. So Comet and Chicago. We know that must be a true statement, so I'm going to put an X where those intersect. So there I put that Comet in the X. And once again, if Comet is in Chicago, I know that Comet could not have gone to any of these other cities. And I know that no other reindeer went to Chicago, so I can cross them all out. The last part of that said while another reindeer was sent to Detroit. That doesn't tell us any information, it just tells me that Detroit is another location, which is why I put in my grid. Next thing, Vixen was sent to El Paso. So Vixen and El Paso. And once again, cross out anything. Vixen could not have been in another city, and no other reindeer could have went to El Paso, so we cross all those out. Third clue, the yellow sleigh went with Dancer, whereas a different reindeer was sent to Atlanta. So the yellow sleigh went with Dancer. So yellow and Dancer. And then I cross out, if Dancer's in the yellow one, no other reindeer are in a yellow one, and Dancer does not have any other colors in their sleigh. Whereas a different reindeer was sent to Atlanta. So that does actually give me another piece of information. So this tells me that Yellow and Dancer could not be Atlanta, since Yellow Sleigh went with Dancer, whereas a different reindeer. So I can mark out Yellow and Atlanta. And I can mark out Dancer and Atlanta. Right, next clue, the blue sleigh did not go with Prancer. So I know blue and Prancer don't go together, so I can cross that out with my red. The red sleigh went with Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer. Well, maybe that was obvious. So Rudolph and red. So I make that mark, and then I cross out everything else for Rudolph, and I cross out everything else for red. All right, next clue. The green sleigh went to Boston, while the orange sleigh went to another city with one of those reindeers. So the green sleigh and Boston. So I know I can mark that. And I can cross off all the other colors for Boston. And I can cross off green from any other city. The blue sleigh did not go to Chicago. The blue sleigh did not go to Chicago. So I can cross off blue and Chicago. There's actually 2 more pieces of information in there too. So if the blue sleigh didn't go to Chicago, and I know that Comet's in Chicago, I know the blue sleigh could not have been Comet either, so I can cross off this space right there. Likewise, with that last clue, it said the green sleigh went to Boston while the orange sleigh went to another city. So that tells me that we know that the orange sleigh could not have been Boston, which we've already crossed that one out here. All right. Well, there is one thing that happened. So we know blue. If we're looking over at this column right here, the only thing left to be blue is Vixen, so we can mark that one. Which then means that Vixen didn't wear anything else. And if we know Vixen is in El Paso, and we know Vixen is the blue, then we know El Paso is the blue as well. So I can cross that out. All right, now is the tricky part. We're out of clues, so we have to go back and look in our grid for more information. So right now I can see we got a lot of information on Comet, so I'm going to try and see if I can figure something out with him, since he's got an X right here. So I know Comet is not yellow, is not blue, and is not red. I also know Comet is in Chicago, and if Comet's not those colors, yellow, blue, or red, then Chicago can't be yellow, blue, or red either. So I'm going to come back and I'm going to mark for Chicago. I'm going to cross out the yellow, cross out the blue, and cross out the red, which is super helpful and tells me that Chicago has to be orange, which also tells me Comet has to be orange. So I can mark both of those. By placing those blue X's, I can cross off everything to the left, to the right, up and below it, which is perfect, and that leaves me with Prancer and green, so I'll mark that. And it also left me with Atlanta and red, so I will mark that. And it left me with yellow and Detroit. So that was a very, very helpful clue. So I can cross out those, and now it's just a matter of matching everything up. So if Prancer is green, and I know green is Boston, then I know Prancer must be in Boston. I knew that Prancer was green, and I knew green was Boston, so that led me to believe Prancer in Boston. And continuing with what we got left, Atlanta must now be Rudolph, which lets us cross this out. And finally, Dancer is in Detroit. Perfect. So now that I've figured out all my information, I can write it all down in my table. And this is actually the table that I check, and how I check to make sure your answers are correct. So just write down all the information. For example, I know Prancer is going to Boston, and Prancer's color is green. Pause the video and go ahead and write down the other 4 reindeer. And there is our logic puzzle filled out. So we have all 5 reindeer, all 5 cities, and all 5 colors. Just remember, it's a good strategy to start filling this out before you're finished if you get stuck. Because maybe if we filled in Prancer and we filled in Boston, that will lead us to the information of green or something like that. Alright, go ahead and finish the rest of those packets. Do as many as you can. I would expect you can do the next 3. So problems 2, 3, and 4. 5 is a little bit different, so give that one a shot as well.